So we'll introduce the sequence function. So let's type in the sequence function, then we'll hit the tab key. Then it is asking us for the rows. So how many rows do we want? So we want for 10 students. Then we'll close it. Then it's only one column we are dealing with. So we want to start with 1 and the step should be 1 1 1. So we'll simply close the bracket and hit enter. So now we've assigned the serial numbers for these students. Hello there. Yes, you. Are you ready for the interview questions? Well, I'm shaking over here, so I guess I'm not. But let's hope and pray we all pass at the end of the day. And oh, just for your heads up, I've included the test questions in the description section, so kindly check it out to see what's going on. Let's start, shall we? So our very first question is, sum the sales generated for each quarter. And the second question is, sum the total sales generated by each personnel. And the last question is, what is the total sales for the year? And over here is saying we should put our final answer over here per the note. So final answer here, okay. So the first question, sum the sales generated for each quarter. So this is quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So to sum the general sales for quarter 1, we can simply come to the very end of quarter 1, then simply using the shortcut Alt equal to, we'll simply press enter. Then this is the general sales for quarter 1, so we can simply drag it to the very end of where quarter 4 ends. Then we get the sales for all the quarters. So 37,395 for quarter 1. Then the remaining one goes on and on. So we are done with the very first one. I hope you got it right. So moving on, the next question is, sum the total sales generated by each personnel. So the total sales generated by each personnel, so Paul to 2, this is sales for quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3, and quarter 4. So to get the general sales made by each personnel, we'll simply come to the very end of their sales. Then we'll simply use the shortcut again, or we can use the sum function, the equal to the sum. Then we'll simply press the tab key and select this entire sales is generated for each and every quarter. Then simply press enter. Then we get the general sales for quarter 2, and we can simply double click. Then now we have the general sales for each personnel. I hope this one too you had it right. Now the last question is asking is, what is the total sales for the year? So it is telling us to put the final answer here. So over here we'll simply bring in the equal to, then bring in the sum function. So we introduce the sum function and press the tab key. Then we'll simply select this entire data over here. Since the addition of all this will give us the total sales, so we'll simply press the enter, or we can simply use this one also. So we'll simply try that, but we can see the text over here. So let's simply change the font color. So let's change it to black. So the total sales for the year is 244,789. So now let's try for this also. So let's bring it over here. Let's test it out whether they will give us the same results. So let's bring in the sum function also. Press the tab key. And let's select the entire data over here also and press enter. So it's the same. So we've gotten it right. So now we've solved for the sales generated for each quarter. So we solved for that. Now we've also solved for the sales generated for each personnel, and now the total sales also we've solved for it. So let's get rid of it. And so moving on, they are asking, did each personnel meet or exceed the target for each quarter? They are asking us to indicate whether yes or no. And also we should specify with a color for both conditions. So if yes, we should give it a color. If no, we should give it a color. Well, that's a bit tough. And also they've given us the target for each quarter. So quarter 1 is 2,500, quarter 2, 3,500, quarter 3, 6,500, and quarter 4, 12,000, and quarter 4, 12,000. Wow, that's a huge target. And so over here, we'll use the if conditions to check whether indeed they met or they exceeded the target for each quarter. So we'll select the cell over here, right next to the Paul. Then we'll come to the formula bar and introduce the if function by first bringing in the equal sign, and we'll type the if and hit the tab. So what we are saying is, if this data over here in sheet 1, that's the sales test 1, if this cell over here is greater than, right, is greater than or equal to this target over here. But note, whilst we want these ones to remain constant, we want the column should change. So we will set, or we will lock the rows using the or hitting the F4 key twice. So as you can see, we've locked the row. Then if this condition is met, what do we want to return? We want to return yes. So let's put it in caps. We want to return yes. And if not, let's return no. So we'll do that and close parentheses and hit enter. And oops, someone didn't really work hard. So let's drag it to the very end of the quarter to see. It's only quarter 2 that he really performed. So now let's verify for the remaining one. So we'll simply select the entire data for all the quarters, then simply drag it down to check whether indeed they all worked hard. So if you have to carefully look through, Bismarck Kofi didn't perform well at all. So we can simply go back to the very first sales to see whether he indeed met. So 2,200, indeed he didn't. 3,000, of course he didn't. So now let's simply adjust this. Let's simply test our theory. So let's adjust it to 3,600 to see and press enter. So now let's go to sales. And oh yes, our theory is working. So indeed he didn't really work hard enough. So let's undo that and come back. And so now we've answered the very first question to see if these sales personnel met the target for each quarter. So if they are to pick it up, they will know who met the target and who didn't meet the target for each quarter. And so now the next question is, we should specify with a color for both conditions. Wow. So now what we'll do, or what we'll use, will be the conditional formatting. So we'll simply select our entire data over here. Then coming to the styles group, still under the home tab, we'll select the conditional formatting over here. We'll click on it. Then from this drop down, we'll click on new rule. We want a new rule. And the rule we want to use is what? Use a formula to determine which cells to format. So we'll click on that. Then now, under the format values where this formula is true, we'll simply click over here. Then what do we want? We want, or the condition we want to meet is, if this cell over here, right? And we shouldn't lock it since it will be moving around. So we'll simply unlock it. If this cell over here is equal to which condition? Is equal to yes, right? Then the color we want to appear, so let's give it a color of green. So let's give it a color of green. We want this color to appear, so we'll simply select this color. So we'll come to the fill and select the color green, and we'll simply click on OK. Then let's check whether our theory will work. So we'll simply click on OK again. And if you have to carefully look through, all the years have been colored green. What about the no? So now let's go to the conditional formatting again. Then now let's create a new rule again. Then let's use a formula to determine. Then with this also, we'll come back to it again and say, if this very cell, right? So let's unlock everything, is equal to, if this very cell is equal to the condition no, if it is equal to no, then let's give it a format color of red, right? So we'll simply click on OK and click on OK again. So now we've given a color for all these ones. So now let's test another theory. So if, let's say Paul Tutu is to meet the target, okay, for quarter 1, let's hit enter, and now let's test it. If you have to carefully look at it, it is actually working. So now we are right for the second test question also. Yay! And moving on to our third question, they are asking us to use a chart to check the sales performance trend of each personnel. So over here they want us to find the trend in the performance of these sales personnel. So we'll use what we call the spark lines. So we'll simply select the entire data over here. Then using the shortcut Control Q, we will move to the spark lines over here. Then we can simply use the line to check for the trend. So we'll simply drag it down for each and every personnel. So if you have to carefully look at this lines over here, you can see for Selassie, let's pick Selassie an example. For Selassie, you see there is a little bit of rise in the sales performance to quarter 2, then it drops in quarter 3, then rises in quarter 4. So this is how you can use the spark lines to quickly analyze the trend in performance. Or we can simply change the spark lines type over here to the column type. Okay, then with the column type also, we can simply mark or change the color for the high. So for the high and low point. So for the low point, let's simply make it red since it's a low performance, and for the high point, let's make it a green or a yellow color. So if you have to carefully look at these data sets or these trends, the lower ones are in red and the higher ones are in yellow. So now we've easily analyzed the trend in their performance for each and every quarter. And on to the next question, which is question number 4. They are asking us if target was met for each quarter, we should find the percentage of sales generated as the bonus and calculate for the total bonus for the year. So now they've given us the bonus percentage for each year, which is 10% for quarter 1, 12 for quarter 2, 13 for quarter 3, and 18 for quarter 4. So now if each personnel met the target, then they will enjoy these percentage bonuses. And so to do that, we'll use the if condition. So select the cell, then come to the formula bar again and introduce the if function again. We hit the tab. Then now we'll come to the second sheet. The condition is, or the logical test is, if this very cell is equal to a yes. So let's bring in the double quote. So if this cell is equal to a yes, or if it's met the target, then if it is true, what do we want to do? Then we want to multiply this their sales, right? So we want to multiply this their sales. So we multiply it by the very percentage bonus, or the bonus percentage. And since the row remains a constant, we will lock the row using the F4. We'll hit it twice to lock the row. Then if it is not so, then we'll simply return what? 0. We'll simply return 0. So we'll simply return 0. So we'll simply close our parenthesis. We'll simply close our parenthesis and hit on OK. So Paul didn't meet the target for quarter 1, so he's not enjoying any bonus. So we'll simply drag it to the very end. So yay, Paul is enjoying for quarter 2. So now let's simply drag it through it out. So now let's simply drag it to the end of the sales personnel to see. So if you have to carefully look at it, they will enjoy some form of benefit, because in each and every quarter, one way or the other, they met their target. And so now let's calculate for each and every. So now let's calculate for the total bonus they will each be enjoying. So we'll simply use the shortcut, the alt equal to calculate for that. Then let's simply drag it down. So this is the total bonus each and every personnel will be enjoying for the year. So we can simply calculate for the total bonus using the alt equal to, and we'll simply press the enter. So this is the total bonus the company, or the Guinness company. So this is the total bonus Guinness company will be paying to the personnel. And on to our next question also. This is a whole different one for a school. They are asking us to assign a unique serial numbers to these students, beginning with the initials ARO followed by a number. And we should also grade the students based on the criteria provided. Oh, okay, so this is the criteria provided. So now they are asking us to give a unique name or a unique serial number to these students, and also to grade them. So over here, we can simply use the sequence function also. So we can simply use the equal sign, right? Then they are asking us to begin with an initials. So we'll simply bring the double quote and begin the initials ARO. Then let's now close the quote, then introduce the end function. So let's introduce the end function. Then we will now introduce the sequence function. So we'll introduce the sequence function. So let's type in the sequence function. Then we'll hit the tab key. Then it is asking us for the rows. So how many rows do we want? So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we want for 10 students. Then we'll close it. Then it's only one column we are dealing with. So we want to start with 1, and the step should be 1, 1, 1. So we'll simply close the bracket and hit enter. So now we've assigned the serial numbers for these students. So the next thing they are asking us to do is to grade the students based on the criteria provided. And this is the criteria. And seeing that the list is a few, we can simply copy and paste it per the criteria over here. But that's not what they want, I believe. And so for this, we'll use the S lookup to do that. So we'll simply select the cell, then come to the formula bar and introduce the S lookup. So we'll simply hit the tab key to bring up the S lookup. Then this is the lookup value we are looking for. So we'll simply bring in the comma, and the lookup array is within this very data set. And it is asking us for the return array if you have to find this value. So this is the return array we want. Then if it's not found, let's simply leave it as blank. And it is not entirely an exact match we want, since this data or these values over here doesn't necessarily match up to this. So, but what we want is, in case if it is not found, we want an exact match or the next larger item. So we'll simply select this one and simply hit the tab key. So let's simply hit the tab key, then close the parenthesis and simply press enter. Then if you have to carefully look through, 80 between 100 and 84 or between 100 and 85 is A plus, so 85 is A plus. So that's why we selected an exact match or the next larger item. So we'll simply drag it down to C. Oops, as you can see, it is giving us what? Errors, or it is giving us zeros. So what we have to do is to lock our data. So we'll simply lock the data. So let's simply select the entire data and use the F4 key to lock them. So let's lock both the cell and the column, and let's lock the next one also. So we will lock the lookup array and we will lock the return array since they will remain the same. So let's simply lock them and now hit the enter again. And now let's drag it down. So let's double click on it. And ooh la la, it's working now. So 67 is a B. So let's confirm. So between 69 and 60 is a B. So now it is correct. So let's test our theory again. What if this is to change to, let's see, an 83? So 83, we press enter. Yay, it is working, right? So now we've assigned the serial numbers and now we've also assigned the grade for these students also. And moving on to the next question, it's asking us how many students are in the class. So how many students are in the class? So over here, let's use the count function to see if it will work. So equal to the count function. So let's introduce the count and hit the tab key, and it is asking us for the value. So let's use the count function. So these are the students, right? So let's simply select this and hit the enter key. Oops, it's a 0 because we are using the count. The count is only for numbers. So now what we'll do is use the counter. So we'll introduce the counter function. So let's simply hit the tab key to select it or double click on it. So now you've selected the counter function. So let's simply press enter now. Yay, the students are 10. So let's simply go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our counter or our number is correct over here. Moving on to the next question, they are asking us what percentage of the students make up males or females. So we use the COUNTIF function to do that. So we'll simply bring in the equal sign to the COUNTIF. So COUNTIF, hit the tab key. Then over here is asking us for the range. So we'll come over here. So this is the range. So this is the range. And also they are asking us for the criteria. So the criteria is M. So we'll simply bring in the double quote, then bring in the M, then simply close the parenthesis and hit enter. So M is 7. And if you are to drag it down, obviously it will be wrong over here. So we'll simply change the M over here to F. So let's simply change the M to F. So we'll simply change that and hit enter. So the F is 3 whilst the M is 7. So now to find the percentage, we will simply divide it. So we'll simply bring in the equal sign, then select this cell and divide it by this one, which is a constant. Simply hit the enter and it gives us the 70%. So let's simply drag it down to the next one, and this gives us 30%. So the male make up 70% of the class, while the female make up 30% of the class. And now moving on, they are asking us how many subjects are there and how many students offer these subjects. So if you have to come back to the very first questions over here, these are the subjects over here. But if you have to clearly look at it carefully, there are some subjects that appear once or twice. So now to find out the actual numbers of these subjects, let's simply introduce what we call the unique function. So we'll simply use the unique function. We hit the tab key. Then let's simply come over here, then simply select this entire text and hit enter. So these are the actual subjects. Okay, so now the question was how many subjects are there? So we'll simply use the counter function. So let's use the counter function to count for it. So we'll simply select this entire data over here and simply press the enter key. So the actual number for the subjects are 7. So 7 in total. So let's simply bring this over here down. So this, and let's give it a different color. So let's give it say this color over here. Okay, so 7 is the actual number of subjects. So now the next question was, how many students offer these subjects? So how many students offer these subjects? So over here also we use the count if function. So we'll simply bring in the count if function. So equal to the count if. So equal to the count if. Hit the tab key. Then they are asking us for the range again. So this is the range and the criteria they are asking us for. So let's simply log this range and the criteria they are asking us for. So this is the criteria we want. So simply hit or close the parenthesis and simply hit the enter key. So for Spanish is 1. So let's simply drag it down and see. So for Spanish is 1. For Japanese is 1. Korean 3. The French language 1. English 2. Mathematics 1. And physics 1. So let's go back and confirm. So Spanish is obviously 1, Japanese is also 1, Korean 3, French 1, then English 2, Mathematics 1, and Physics 1. Yay! We got this one correct also. So if you want to see whether it's actually correct, let's simply use the alt equal to check. Simply press enter. And it's correct because the number of students is what? 10. So we are correct in this regard. So and finally, moving on to the last question, to finally submit and know whether we passed the interview or not, they are asking us how many were promoted and how many failed to make it if the pass score for each subject is 75%. Wow. So now they want us to identify which of these students passed and which of these students failed. So to do that, let's introduce the students over here. So let's simply bring in the equal sign. Then let's come over here and simply select this data over here. So we'll simply select this one, hit the enter. Then now let's drag it down to the very last of these students. Let's get rid of this 0 since it's not needed. So using the surnames, what we want to bring next is also the score also. So we want to bring in the score. So we'll simply reference the score also. Simply bring in the equal sign. Then let's reference the score. Let's simply reference the score and simply drag it down. Then now the pass mark is what? 75%. So 75% is the pass score. So now they are asking us which of these ones were promoted. So now over here also we'll introduce the if function again. So equal to if. So equal to if this score over here, right, is greater than or equal to this very score, right? Let's change this. Is greater than or equal to, not greater than or plus, greater than or equal to this very score over here, which is obviously a constant. Then what do we want to return? If true, then promoted. If true, then promoted, right? And if not true, sadly they failed. So we'll simply do that and close the parenthesis and simply hit the tab key or the enter key. So now 83 is obviously a pass, so simply double click to drag it down, and only 2 students failed to make it. Monkey D. Luffy and Taeyang were the only ones who failed to make it. So between you and I, what do you think we should do? Let's pass all of them, shall we? So let's simply come to the school test again. Then Korean, Taeyang is obviously a Korean, so we know he will do well, even though he had a 70. Let's simply give him a 76, simply change it to 76. Then over here also 67. Let's pardon Monkey D. Luffy for the day and give him a 75 and simply hit the enter key. So now let's see whether they all passed. Wow, our students are good, said so they all were promoted. So now we are done with our interview questions. Well, I hope you all passed all the questions. I'm looking forward to working with you all in the very next video. So kindly hit the like and the subscribe button and push the notification so that anytime my video drops, you'll be the first to know. Thank you so much for your time and see you again in the company.